At this point, just say you don't want the black vote. Oh my goodness. So there was this interview between DJ Akademiks and Donald Trump Jr. Now, I have no idea on God's green earth why either of these two people would have an interview. I have no idea who it benefits. I have none whatsoever. But nonetheless, it happened. And there's this clip from the interview that is going viral, or at least amongst Black Twitterans, regarding reparations. Now, let me just say this before we get into the video, because I think it's pertinent to bring this up. And when it comes to DJ Akademiks, from my understanding, I don't believe he's Black American. I don't believe he's FBA. So that is a bit of a sweet, bitter taste, because I appreciate him bringing this up, because I think it's very crucial, very pertinent to have us ask candidates who are asking for our vote, right? To ask them, hey, here are topics, here are issues that I have within the community. What are you going to do about it? This is our demand for the vote. Are you going to, let's negotiate, because that's how that works. When it comes to Biden, I don't mind him having a chicken dinner with a black family. Go ahead, have as many chicken dinners you want. But business is going to either be talked after the dinner, or it's going to be injected into the dinner itself. Like, yo, we all having fun and games, but what about reparations? What about, this? What about that? So, and the same thing goes for Trump. When it comes to, him going to Chick-fil-A, I don't care. Great. And from what I heard that was all a stunt, which is, hey, it is what it is. But the point of the matter is that you need to relay your interests, your desires, your wants, your needs to these people who are going to be in positions of power, to these people who are going to be able to fulfill those requirements that you ask of them. However, on the flip side, when it comes to the bidder, is that he's not well versed in reparations, especially from this interview. It doesn't seem that he's well versed in reparations, or that he has really big, of a stake in it. Given that he's not Black American, it seems that he's just mentioning it just to mention it, right? Just to appease, a checkbox. That there's no passion behind it. And I get it. You're not going to get any of the reparations. So it's like, whatever, I'll just say it to say it. But you can't be so flippant with something that is very, very crucial and very sacred to a lot of Black Americans. And that's how he comes off, very flippant about it. Because going into the video, he asked about reparations, and Donald Trump immediately starts going to talking points, talking about, well, I wasn't a slave master, and you weren't slaves.
Reparations. That's a conversation that's been ongoing. I feel like it comes up here and there, and people always wait for some type of, hey, listen, if people are getting either paychecks or what's supposedly due to them, what about African Americans and reparations?
Yeah, listen, I'm not generally, I think it's, you see the stuff going on in California, and it's like, well, if we took 10x the California budget, I'm like, what? Like, I look at, me, do I pay into this? Like, my grandparents came here in 1906. We were never...
that many of these ignorant saltine demons bring up, because they're completely historically illiterate. They don't know anything about anything. They just know, I don't like this, so let me come up with a very shallow argument. That's in a nutshell. I mean, in a nutshell, that's TPUSA. But in a nutshell, that's what they do. Thankfully, DJ Akademiks goes and gives a rebut to that, talking about, well, the understanding is, the gist of it is that, these people built the country, and that you are reaping from their labor. You are reaping for their labor that was never paid for. That's in essence what the argument is.
Byproduct or recipient of anything good should pay into the people who are the ancestors that help build the foundation, and those direct descendants of those ancestors somehow, which obviously wouldn't be me, by the way.
I get the concept. I'm sort of...
And that's just a percentage of the argument. There's been books on this. Dr. William Darity. There's been seminars on this. There's been lectures on this. I don't know what to tell you. At this point in time, if you're ignorant and you truly want to know, you truly have these questions, or you truly are like, hey, I don't believe it should happen, then look it up. right? Look up people, doctors, educators, who have answers to your questions. But we all know they don't want answers. That's always the case. They don't want answers. They just want compliance. And in many cases, it's via force compliance. That's what they want. Donald Trump Jr. immediately goes back to even more talking points, right? Because if they can't get you on the basis of, well, I wasn't a slave and you were a slave, it's like, okay, well, we knocked that out the water. Now what? Well, what about the money, right? Because he starts talking about the money. Well, look at, some of the numbers that they're running with are just, ludicrous. And it seems that DJ Akademiks kind of co-signed this because he talks about Bernie and how Bernie recommended the numbers and Bernie was like, well, I don't know about the numbers.
I'm not long these concepts because I think they're too complicated. I think they'd get taken too advantage of. I think, when you see some of the numbers that are being thrown around, it's like mind-blowing.
Like Bernie had said, he had mentioned that too. Like he was like,
California, they're like, it's like $30 trillion and we can be fine. I'm like, wait a minute, what are you talking? Like that's.
I'm sorry, that's foolishness. Because what I would have said, and anyone who's educated in how many of these right-wing hacks handle these situations, you simply ask, hey, what about Israel? What about Israel? Because the Israeli people, the Israelis, they're not United States American citizens. They're not citizens of this country. But yet we give them billions and billions and billions of dollars. So you telling me we can give billions of dollars to Ukraine, we can give billions out of Israel, but we can't give money back to a group of people where it's a debt? Let me just make sure to put that out there because I always want to say it's a handout. It's a debt. That's what it is. You're telling me you can't pay back a debt to American citizens? You're more than happy to give money to them and they're not even American citizens. You can't pay a debt back to a group of people who have been with you since the jump, since the inception of this country. That's what you want to tell me? Does that sound conservative? Does that sound Republican? Does that sound America first? Doesn't sound like that to me. So that's what you got to do with these people. You got to show the hypocrisy right in their face. And he goes on and starts talking about, I don't know how it could be, logically done. I don't know it could be feasible. I don't know the pricing, because then they'll start talking about inflation and all this goofy nonsense.
But I don't know how you do that reasonably, logically, equitably.
I love how that always happens to be brought up when it comes to Black Americans. Always. So I wish he had pressed him further on the foolishness and the shallowness of the arguments that Donald Trump Jr. was giving. But at the end of the day, this is Donald Trump Jr., okay? But you also have to take into account, listen, he's in the ear of Donald Trump if he wins the election. And if you want to be anti-reparations or say, I don't know how it can happen, because I always say people who say, well, I don't know how it can happen aren't anti-reparations, because you have to understand what they're saying. They're not saying, I don't think you should get the money. They're just saying, I don't know how you would get the money. Okay. And if that's what you're saying, if you're saying, I don't know how it would happen, that's fine. That's fine. Because there's plenty of people who do. There's plenty of people who got the dollar amount. They can tell you how it should be dispersed. They can tell you what will be done with it. There's plenty of people out there and have been that can give you those answers. So if we're no longer fighting whether or not it's a debt that's owed to Black Americans, that's great. That's awesome. Now we just need to figure out the logistics. If we can get a man on the moon, you want to tell me we can't figure out how to give as far as reparations to Black descendants of slavery in this country that's owed to them? Come on now. Stop playing games. You know it and I know it. So I'm glad if you want to feign, ignorance in that regard, that's the best type. That's the best type of ignorance to feign. Okay. Now you're just telling me how to sell you. That's what you're doing. You're telling me how to sell you. Great. That's awesome because we got the answers. Okay. We got the answers. So I think these stunts like this by Donald Trump Jr. aren't doing Trump any favor, bruh. They're not doing any favor. This is almost as worse. I would say maybe even more worse than, the foolishness that, what's his name? Charlie Kirk has been saying about DEI and black pilots and stuff like that. I think this is even worse because this is primarily exclusive to Black Americans and our history, our lineage in this country. So, I mean, this is un-American as it gets to me personally. You want to deny Americans a debt that's owed to them. That's sick. That's absolutely perverse in a twisted sense of history, an understanding of history and justice. But, we have to see who it's coming from. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Let me know what you guys think. Whether or not you believe, look, reparations, you weren't slaves. Okay, I wasn't a slave owner. It's simple as that, okay? Or if you don't believe, no one's making that argument. But it's an addition to the litany of evil that much of this country, all of the country, I would say, co-signed. Whether it was firsthand or secondhand. They contributed to slavery. They contributed to Jim Crow. They contributed to redlining. This is all a group effort. So, I mean, there's a litany of harm that's been done, and it seems the only group of people that America does not want to give money to, does not want to give aid to, does not want to pay their debt to in society happens to be Black Americans. But, the country isn't racist, right? Nevertheless, if you happen to disagree with the video, you're more than welcome to call in during Disagreement Day, which is typically held Friday through Sunday. There'll be a number on screen. You call in, we duke it out. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please feel free to like, share, comment. Let me know what you guys think about it. Are you voting for Trump? Are you voting for Biden? Or you're not voting at all? You're just sitting at home. And subscribe and all that fun stuff. Till next time, guys, be amazing. And that's how he comes off, very flippant about it.